The California sun was beating down hard that Tuesday afternoon as 16-year-old Maya rushed across the parking lot of Whole Foods in Carmel. Her sneakers squeaked against the hot asphalt as she hurried toward the entrance, already running, 15 minutes late for her shift at the coffee shop down the street. She had promised her manager she would cover for someone who called in sick, and being late was the last thing she needed right now. Maya's mind was racing with thoughts about her upcoming college applications. The deadlines were approaching fast, and she still needed to save up for the application fees. Working 2 part-time jobs while keeping up with her grades wasn't easy, but she knew it was the only way to make her dreams come true. Her family had always struggled financially, and asking her parents for money wasn't an option. As she walked quickly through the rows of parked cars, something caught her eye. Near a weathered blue pickup truck, she saw an older man in his 70s struggling with several heavy paper bags. The bags looked like they were about to tear from the weight, and the man was clearly having trouble managing them all. He wore a simple flannel shirt, faded jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Maya slowed her pace and watched as one of the bags started to split at the bottom. Suddenly, oranges began rolling out onto the ground, followed by a few cans that hit the pavement with loud clanks. The elderly man let out a frustrated sigh and bent down slowly to try to gather the scattered items. Without thinking twice, Maya changed direction and jogged over to help. Her grandmother had always taught her to help others when they needed it, regardless of whether she knew them or not. It was just the right thing to do. "Excuse me, sir," Maya called out as she approached. "Looks like you could use some help there." The man looked up at her with surprise, his weathered face breaking into a grateful smile. "Well, that's very kind of you, young lady. These bags seemed a lot lighter in the store." Maya quickly knelt down and started gathering the oranges that had rolled under nearby cars. "No problem at all. I know how those paper bags can be. They look strong but fall apart when you need them most." As she crawled partially under a car to reach an orange that had rolled far underneath, Maya called out, "My mom always says these grocery stores should invest in better bags instead of making customers struggle like this." The man chuckled, a warm sound that made Maya smile even though she couldn't see his face from under the car. "Your mother sounds like a smart woman." "She is," Maya replied, emerging with the rescued orange and dusting off her uniform. "She works 2 jobs just to keep our family going. Taught me that hard work pays off, even when it doesn't feel like it." Together, they gathered all the scattered groceries. Maya noticed the man moved a bit slowly, probably dealing with some aches and pains that come with age. She made sure to grab the heavier items and the ones that had rolled farthest away. "Thank you so much," the man said as they stood up. "I'm afraid I was a bit too ambitious with my shopping today. My eyes were bigger than my arms, as they say." Maya laughed. "That happens to the best of us. Here, let me help you get these into your truck." As they walked toward the pickup truck, Maya couldn't help but admire it. The truck was older but well-maintained, with character that spoke of years of reliable service. It reminded her of her grandfather's old truck that he used to drive her around in when she was little. "Nice truck," she commented as the man opened the tailgate. "They don't make them like this anymore." "No, they certainly don't," he agreed, his voice carrying a note of pride. "Had this old girl for more than 20 years. She's been good to me." As they loaded the bags into the truck bed, Maya organized them carefully to make sure nothing would slide around during the drive. She had learned this trick from helping her mother with groceries countless times over the years. "You seem like you've done this before," the man observed, watching Maya's efficient work. "Plenty of times," Maya replied with a grin. "When you're always rushing between school, work, and home, you learn to do things fast and right the first time." The man nodded approvingly. "That's a good life lesson. Efficiency and care can go hand in hand." As they finished loading the last bag, Maya glanced at her phone and realized she was now 20 minutes late for work. Her manager was probably wondering where she was, but she didn't regret stopping to help. Some things were more important than being perfectly on time. "Well, I should probably get going," Maya said, shouldering her backpack. "My boss is probably wondering where I am." "Of course, you've already been more than kind," the man replied. "What kind of work do you do, if you don't mind me asking?" "I work at a coffee shop downtown, and I also help out at a local tutoring center on weekends," Maya explained. Trying to save up for college applications and maybe some of the fees that come with starting school. The man's expression grew more interested. College applications? What are you hoping to study? Maya's face lit up with excitement, the way it always did when someone asked about her dreams. Film production, actually. I know it sounds crazy, but I've always loved movies and storytelling. There's something magical about how a good film can make you feel like you're living someone else's life for a couple of hours. That doesn't sound crazy at all, the man said earnestly. What kind of stories do you want to tell? Maya leaned against the truck, momentarily forgetting about being late as her passion took over. Real stories about real people. Stories that matter. I think there are so many amazing people out there whose stories never get told because they're not famous or wealthy. But everyone has something interesting about their life if you just take the time to listen. The man nodded thoughtfully. That's a beautiful perspective. The best stories often come from the most unexpected places. Exactly, Maya exclaimed. Like today, for instance. I was just rushing to work and I met you. I bet you have some incredible stories from your life. The elderly man smiled mysteriously. We all have our stories, that's for sure. Maya checked her phone again and realized she really needed to go. I'm so sorry, but I really do need to run now. It was really nice meeting you, sir. The pleasure was all mine, he replied warmly. And thank you again for your help. It means more than you know. As Maya started to walk away, she turned back one more time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. The man waved from beside his truck, and Maya hurried toward the street, her mind already shifting back to work mode. She had no idea that this simple act of kindness would soon change her life in ways she never could have imagined. Sometimes the most ordinary moments turn out to be the most extraordinary ones, and this Tuesday afternoon in a grocery store parking lot was about to become one of those moments that Maya would remember for the rest of her life. Maya had barely taken 3 steps away from the pickup truck when she heard the elderly man's voice calling after her. Wait a moment, young lady, he said, his tone gentle but urgent. I hate to ask for more help, but I think one of these bags might be leaking. Maya turned around and saw him examining one of the paper bags in the truck bed. Sure enough, there was a small wet spot spreading across the bottom where a container of something had apparently cracked during their loading process. Oh no, Maya said, hurrying back over. We should probably check what's broken before it ruins everything else. My thoughts exactly, the man replied, carefully lifting the bag out of the truck. I'd hate for this to turn into an even bigger mess. As they gently opened the bag, Maya could see that a small jar of pasta sauce had cracked along the side, slowly leaking its contents. The red sauce was already staining some of the other items in the bag. We need to get this separated, Maya said, already moving into problem-solving mode. Do you have any other bags in your truck, or should I run into the store and grab some? The man checked the cab of his truck and found a few reusable canvas bags tucked behind the seats. Will these work? Perfect, Maya replied, taking the bags from him. Let me help you reorganize everything so nothing else gets ruined. As they carefully transferred items from the damaged bag into the canvas ones, the conversation naturally continued. Maya found herself chatting easily with this stranger, something that didn't usually happen to her. She was normally pretty shy, around people she didn't know, but there was something about this man's gentle demeanor that put her at ease. You mentioned you work at a tutoring center too, he said as they sorted through groceries. What subjects do you help with? Mostly English and creative writing, Maya replied, carefully wrapping the broken jar in some paper towels she found in the truck. A lot of younger kids struggle with expressing their thoughts on paper, but once you help them find their voice, they really take off. The man nodded approvingly. That's a valuable skill to teach. Being able to communicate clearly is important in every aspect of life. That's what I tell them, Maya agreed. I try to make it fun, though. Instead of just focusing on grammar and structure, I ask them to tell me stories about their lives, their families, their dreams. Once they start talking about things they care about, the writing just flows naturally. Smart approach, the man said, genuine admiration in his voice. You sound like a natural teacher. Maya felt a warm glow at the compliment. I never really thought of myself that way, but I do love helping people. My little brother always comes to me when he's struggling with his homework, and I've been helping neighbors' kids for years. As they continued organizing the groceries, the man asked more questions about Maya's life and interests. She found herself opening up in a way that surprised her, talking about things she rarely discussed with anyone outside her family. That film production dream started when I was about 12, Maya explained, holding up a bag of pasta as she decided which bag it should go in. My English teacher showed us this documentary about people in our own community who had overcome incredible challenges. It wasn't fancy or expensive to make, but it was so powerful. I realized that you don't need millions of dollars to tell a story that matters. What kind of challenges? The man asked, clearly interested in hearing more. Maya's eyes lit up as she remembered. There was this woman who had escaped from an abusive relationship with 3 young children and no money. She ended up starting a small business making and selling homemade soaps. By the time they filmed her story, she had built it into a successful company and was employing other women who had been in similar situations. The man listened intently as Maya continued her story, occasionally nodding or asking follow-up questions that showed he was truly engaged in what she was saying. The part that really got to me, Maya went on, was when she talked about how scared she was to take that first step. She said she almost gave up a dozen times, but she kept thinking about her children and the kind of life she wanted to give them. By the end of the documentary, I was crying like a baby. Sounds like it had quite an impact on you, the man observed. It completely changed how I thought about storytelling, Maya admitted. I realized that the most important stories aren't always the ones about famous people or big events. Sometimes the most inspiring stories happen right in our own neighborhoods, with people who are just trying to make a better life for themselves and their families. The man was quiet for a moment, and Maya worried she had been talking too much. She had a tendency to get carried away when she talked about things she was passionate about. I'm sorry, she said, feeling a bit embarrassed. I probably sound like I'm rambling. Not at all, the man replied warmly. It's refreshing to meet a young person with such clear vision and purpose. Tell me more about your plans for college. Maya felt encouraged by his genuine interest. Well, I'm applying to several schools with good film programs, but honestly, I'm not sure how I'm going to afford it. My parents work really hard, but money is always tight. I'm hoping to get some scholarships, but the competition is pretty fierce. What makes you think you can compete? The man asked, but his tone wasn't challenging. It seemed like he was genuinely curious about her confidence. Maya thought about the question for a moment. I guess it's because I really believe in what I want to do. When I watch movies or documentaries, I can see how they're put together. I notice the camera angles, the way the story is structured, how the music affects the emotion. And when I help kids with their writing, I see how powerful it is when someone finally finds the right words to express what they're feeling. Have you made any films yourself? The man asked. Just small things with my phone, Maya replied, suddenly, feeling a bit self-conscious. I made a short documentary about the food bank where my mom volunteers. It was only about 10 minutes long, but it showed how the volunteers and the families they help are all just regular people trying to take care of each other. What happened to it? Maya smiled. My media arts teacher entered it in a regional student film competition without telling me. I didn't win first place or anything, but I got an honorable mention. The judges said it had authentic heart, which I thought was the best compliment I could have gotten. The man chuckled. That is a wonderful compliment. Authentic heart is something you can't teach or fake. As they finished reorganizing all the groceries, Maya realized they had been talking for almost 20 minutes. She was now extremely late for work, but strangely, she didn't feel stressed about it anymore. This conversation had been exactly what she needed without even knowing it. I should probably call my manager and let her know I'll be a few more minutes late, Maya said, pulling out her phone. Of course, the man replied, but before you do, I want you to know how much I've enjoyed talking with you. It's not often I meet someone your age with such thoughtful perspectives on life. Maya felt a warm flush of pride. Thank you, sir. I've really enjoyed talking with you too. You're a great listener. As Maya quickly called her manager to explain she had stopped to help someone and would be there soon, she noticed the man watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. There was something in his eyes that seemed almost familiar, but she couldn't place it. After finishing her quick phone call with her manager, Maya slipped her phone back into her pocket and turned to face the elderly man. He had been patiently waiting by his truck, organizing the last few items in the canvas bags. The afternoon. Sun was starting to shift, and for the first time since they had begun talking, Maya got a really clear look at his face. The man had removed his baseball cap while she was on the phone and was now running his fingers through his silver hair. As he looked up at her with a slight smile, something clicked in Maya's mind. There was something incredibly familiar about those eyes, that jawline, the way he carried himself with quiet confidence. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. She had seen that face countless times before, but never in person, never standing just a few feet away from her in a grocery store parking lot. "Oh my goodness," Maya whispered, her eyes growing wide. You're Clint Eastwood." The man's smile grew wider, and he let out a gentle chuckle. "Took you long enough to figure that out," he said, his voice carrying that distinctive tone that Maya had heard in dozens of movies. Maya's hand flew to her mouth in shock. "I can't believe I didn't recognize you. I've watched so many of your movies for my film class. We studied Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby just last month." Clint nodded, clearly amused by her reaction. "Well, I have to say, this has been one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had in a while. It's not often someone talks to me for 20 minutes without knowing who I am." Maya felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, I should have known. But you were just so normal and nice, and I was focused on helping with the groceries and—" She trailed off, realizing she was rambling. "Don't apologize," Clint said firmly but kindly. "This was exactly what I needed today. Do you know how refreshing it is to have a genuine conversation with someone who isn't trying to impress me or ask for favors?" Maya shook her head, still trying to process what was happening. "I still can't believe this. My film teacher is never going to believe me when I tell her I helped Clint Eastwood with his groceries." "Is that the teacher who showed you the documentary? That inspired you?" Clint asked. "Yes, Ms. Rodriguez. She's the one who really encouraged me to think about film school. She always tells us that the best directors are the ones who understand people, not just cameras and equipment." Clint nodded, approvingly. "Your teacher sounds very wise. Understanding people is absolutely the most important part of storytelling. All the technical skills in the world won't help you if you can't connect with human emotions and experiences." Maya felt a surge of excitement despite her lingering shock. "That's exactly what she says. She tells us that every person has a story, worth telling, and our job as filmmakers is to find the heart of that story." "She's absolutely right," Clint replied. "Some of my best work has come from stories about ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. Or sometimes, extraordinary. People in very ordinary circumstances." Maya's mind was racing. She thought about all the questions she had wanted to ask him during class discussions, all the things she had wondered about his creative process. But now, faced with the opportunity, she felt tongue-tied. "I have so many questions I want to ask you," Maya finally managed to say, "but I don't even know where to start." "Well, we've got a few more minutes," Clint said, leaning against his truck. "What's the first thing that comes to mind?" Maya took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. "I guess, how do you know when a story is worth telling? I mean, you've made so many incredible films, but how do you choose which projects to work on?" Clint considered the question thoughtfully. It usually comes down to whether the story moves me personally. If I can read a script or hear about a situation and feel something real in my gut, then I know other people will feel it too." "That makes sense," Maya said, hanging on every word. "In my media arts class, we talk about how the best films make you feel like you've lived through something, not just watched it." "Exactly," Clint agreed. "And that feeling comes from authenticity. When you were telling me about that documentary you saw, about the woman who started the soap business, I could hear the authenticity in your voice. You weren't just recounting a story you had seen. You were sharing something that had genuinely affected you." Maya felt a warmth spreading through her chest. "It really did affect me. I think about her story all the time, especially when things get tough with work and school." "That's the mark of a good storyteller," Clint said. When something stays with you long after you've experienced it, when it changes the way you see the world or gives you strength during difficult times. Maya glanced at her phone again and realized she was now over 30 minutes late for work. Her manager had been understanding on the phone, but she really needed to get going soon. I should probably head to work, Maya said reluctantly. But, Mr. Eastwood, I just want to say thank you. Not just for the conversation, but for all the movies you've made. They've taught me so much about storytelling and about life. The pleasure has been entirely mine, Clint replied. And please, just call me Clint. After helping me with my groceries and having such a wonderful conversation, I think we're past the formal stage. Maya smiled, still feeling surreal about the entire situation. I'm going to remember this day for the rest of my life. I hope you do, Clint said. And I hope you remember what we talked about when you're making your own films someday. You really think I can do it? Maya asked, her voice carrying a note of vulnerability. Clint looked at her seriously. Maya, in the past half hour, you've shown me more genuine kindness, passion, and insight than I encounter in most of my professional meetings. You have something special. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Maya felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. Thank you. That means more than you could possibly know. I have a feeling you're going to do great things, Clint said. The world needs more storytellers who care about real people and real stories. As Maya shouldered her backpack and prepared to finally head to work, she turned back one more time. Clint, can I ask you one more question? Of course. Do you ever get nervous about new projects, even after all these years? Clint smiled. Every single time. But I've learned that the nervousness isn't something to avoid. It's a sign that you care about doing good work. The day you stop being nervous is the day you stop growing as an artist. Maya nodded, filing away this piece of wisdom along with everything else from their incredible conversation. I'll remember that. I'm sure you will, Clint replied. Now, get to work before your manager starts to worry. As Maya finally began walking toward the street, her mind was spinning with everything that had just happened. She had started the day rushing to help someone with their groceries and ended up having a life-changing conversation with one of her filmmaking heroes. She knew that no matter what happened next, this moment would stay with her forever. As Maya started to walk away from the truck, Clint called out to her one more time. She turned around, expecting maybe a final goodbye or some last piece of advice. Actually, Maya, hold on just a second, Clint said, reaching into his back pocket. I want to give you something. Maya walked back over, curious about what he might want to share with her. She watched as he pulled out a worn leather wallet and opened it carefully. From inside, he took out what looked like a simple business card. This is my card, Clint explained, holding it between his fingers. But I want to write something on the back for you. He patted his shirt pocket and frowned. Don't suppose you have a pen I could borrow? Maya quickly dug through her backpack and found a blue ballpoint pen that she used for taking notes at work. Here you go. Clint took the pen and placed the card against the side of his truck, using it as a makeshift writing surface. Maya watched as he wrote something on the back of the card, his handwriting careful and deliberate. She could see his lips moving slightly as he formed the words, but she couldn't make out what he was writing from where she stood. The whole process took about a minute, with Clint pausing occasionally to think about what he wanted to say. Maya found herself holding her breath, wondering what advice or encouragement he might be putting down on paper. There, Clint said finally, capping the pen and handing it back to Maya. He held onto the card for a moment, looking at what he had written. I want you to read this when you get home tonight, not before. Can you promise me that? Maya nodded, though she was practically buzzing with curiosity. I promise. Clint handed her the card, and Maya noticed how warm it felt from being in his wallet and from his hands as he wrote on it. She looked down at it briefly and could see it was a simple white business card with his name and what appeared to be contact information printed on the front. The back had his handwritten message, but she kept her promise and didn't try to read it. Why do I have to wait until I get home? Maya asked, carefully tucking the card into the small front pocket of her backpack where it would be safe. Clint smiled mysteriously. Because some things are better absorbed when you have time to really think about them, and because you're already running late for work, and I don't want to make that situation any worse." Maya laughed. "You're probably right about that. My manager's going to think I got lost or something. Just tell her you were helping an elderly gentleman with his groceries," Clint suggested with a wink. "That's the truth, after all." "The truth? But not the whole truth," Maya replied, grinning. "Sometimes the whole truth is more than people are ready to hear," Clint said. "But you'll know when the right time comes to share it." Maya adjusted her backpack straps and checked her phone one more time. She was now almost 40 minutes late, but somehow she felt like her manager would understand when she explained what had happened, even if she didn't tell her exactly who she had been helping. "I should really go now," Maya said, though part of her wanted to keep talking forever. "But thank you again, for everything. For the conversation, for the advice, and for this." She patted the pocket where she had put the card. "Thank you for being exactly who you are," Clint replied. "Don't ever change that." As Maya started walking away again, she felt the card in her backpack like it was burning a hole through the fabric. She had promised not to read it until she got home, but the curiosity was almost overwhelming. What could he have written that was so important it needed to wait? The walk to the coffee shop took about 10 minutes, and Maya's mind was spinning the entire time. She kept replaying the conversation in her head, hardly believing it had really happened. Part of her wondered if she was dreaming, but the weight of the business card in her backpack assured her it was all real. When she arrived at the coffee shop, her manager Rachel looked up from behind the counter with a concerned expression. "Maya, are you okay? You're never this late." Maya took a deep breath. "I'm so sorry, Rachel. I stopped to help someone with their groceries in the parking lot at Whole Foods, and it took longer than I expected." Rachel's expression softened immediately. "Oh, that's sweet of you. Was everything all right?" "Yeah, just an older gentleman who was struggling with some heavy bags. I couldn't just walk by without helping." "Of course not," Rachel said. "That's exactly the kind of person you are. Don't worry about being late. Just get your apron on and we'll get you caught up." Maya tied her apron around her waist and got to work, but her mind kept drifting back to the card in her backpack. Every time she walked past the employee break room, she felt tempted to sneak in and read it, but she had made a promise. The afternoon shift was busier than usual, which helped keep Maya distracted. She made dozens of lattes and cappuccinos, took orders, and cleaned tables, but through it all, she kept thinking about her conversation with Clint. The advice he had given her about storytelling, the encouragement about her dreams, the way he had really listened to everything she said. Around 4 o'clock, during a brief lull in customers, Rachel came over to where Maya was wiping down the espresso machine. "You seem different today," Rachel observed. "More, I don't know, energetic, like something good happened." Maya smiled. "I guess helping that man just reminded me why I like helping people. It felt good to do something kind without expecting anything in return." "That's a beautiful way to look at it," Rachel said. "The world needs more people like you, Maya." If only she knew, Maya thought to herself. But she kept her promise and didn't say anything more about her encounter. The rest of her shift seemed to drag by. Every time Maya looked at the clock, it felt like time was moving backwards. She found herself making small mistakes, like putting regular milk in a drink that was supposed to be made with almond milk, or forgetting to add the extra shot of espresso that a customer had requested. "You sure you're okay?" Rachel asked during the last hour of Maya's shift. "You seem a little scattered." "I'm fine," Maya assured her. "Just thinking about some school stuff I need to work on when I get home." That wasn't entirely a lie. She did have homework to do, but her mind was completely occupied by the business card and whatever message Clint had written for her. When her shift finally ended at 6 o'clock, Maya practically ran to the break room to get her backpack. She could feel the card still there in the front pocket, exactly where she had put it hours earlier. The walk home took another 15 minutes, and Maya found herself walking faster than usual. Her family lived in a small apartment about a mile from downtown, and Maya had made the walk hundreds of times before, but today it felt like the longest journey of her life. When she finally reached her building and climbed the stairs to her family's second-floor apartment, Maya could hear the sounds of dinner preparation coming from the kitchen. Her mother was probably making her famous rice and beans, and her little brother was likely at the kitchen table doing homework. Maya called out a quick hello as she passed through the living room, heading straight for her bedroom. She needed privacy for whatever she was about to read. "How was work, honey?" her mother called from the kitchen. "Good, Mom. I'll be out in a few minutes to help with dinner." Maya closed her bedroom door and sat on her bed, finally pulling the business card from her backpack. Her hands were actually shaking a little as she turned it over to read what Clint Eastwood had written just for her. Maya sat on the edge of her bed, holding the business card with trembling hands. The front was simple and elegant, with Clint Eastwood's name printed in clean black letters, along with what appeared to be his production company information. She had been waiting hours for this moment, and now that it was finally here, she almost felt scared to turn the card over. Taking a deep breath, Maya flipped the card and began to read the handwritten message. Clint's handwriting was neat and measured, each word carefully formed. "Maya, your kindness today reminded me why I fell in love with storytelling in the first place. Real stories come from real hearts like yours." Maya's eyes grew wider as she continued reading. "I want to help you pursue your dreams. Call me when you're ready to take the next step. The world needs storytellers like you. C.E." Below his initials, Clint had written a personal phone number, but it was the last line that made Maya's breath catch in her throat. "Full scholarship fund. Film school of your choice." Maya read the message 3 times, certain she must be misunderstanding something. Full scholarship? Film school of her choice? This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Her hands started shaking more violently, and tears began streaming down her face. She set the card carefully on her nightstand and covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed by emotions she couldn't even name. For the past 2 years, Maya had been working herself to exhaustion, trying to save enough money for college applications, let alone actual tuition. She had calculated that even with financial aid, she would need to take out massive loans that would take decades to pay back. Her parents had offered to help however they could, but Maya knew they were already struggling to make ends meet. She had applied for every scholarship she could find, writing essay after essay about her dreams and her determination. Most of the time, she never even heard back. The few rejections she did receive always said the same thing. "While your application shows promise, we received many qualified candidates." Maya picked up the card again, studying every word to make sure she hadn't imagined it. The phone number was written clearly below the message. This was real. Clint Eastwood, one of the most respected directors in Hollywood, was offering to pay for her entire education. A soft knock on her bedroom door interrupted her thoughts. "Maya? Dinner's ready," her mother's voice called from the hallway. Maya quickly wiped her eyes and tried to compose herself. "I'll be right there, Mom." She needed a moment to process what had just happened before she could face her family. How could she even begin to explain this? Her little brother David was only 12, and her parents, while supportive of her dreams, had always encouraged her to be realistic about her future. Maya splashed some cold water on her face in the bathroom and took several deep breaths before joining her family in the kitchen. Her mother, Isabella, was setting plates of rice and beans on their small dining table, while David was already seated and ready to eat. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Isabella asked as Maya sat down. "It was unusual," Maya replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Her father, Carlos, looked up from his plate. "Unusual how?" Maya hesitated. She wanted to tell them everything, but she also didn't want to get their hopes up in case this somehow turned out to be too good to be true. "I helped an older man with his groceries today after school," Maya began carefully. "We ended up having a really nice conversation about my college plans." "That's sweet of you," Isabella said. "Your grandmother always said that kindness comes back to you in unexpected ways." David, who was already halfway through his dinner, looked at his sister curiously. What was so unusual about that? Maya took a bite of her food, buying herself time to think. "He was just really encouraging about my film school plans. It reminded me why I want to do this." Carlos nodded approvingly. "It's good to meet people. who support your dreams. Sometimes we need that reminder that we're on the right path. Maya felt the weight of the business card in her pocket. If only they knew how right he was about being on the right path. After dinner, Maya helped clean up the dishes while her mind raced with thoughts about what to do next. Should she call the number right away? Should she wait? Should she research this more to make sure it wasn't some kind of mistake? Maya, you seem distracted tonight, Isabella observed as they finished putting away the clean plates. Are you feeling all right? Maya turned to face her mother. Isabella had worked 2 jobs, for as long as Maya could remember, always putting her children's needs before her own. She had never complained, but Maya had seen the worry lines around her eyes when the bills piled up on the kitchen counter. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, Mija. If something amazing happened to our family, something that seemed too good to be true, would you be scared that it might not be real? Isabella studied her daughter's face carefully. Is there something you want to tell me? Maya pulled the business card from her pocket and handed it to her mother. The man I helped today, it was Clint Eastwood, the movie director, and he wrote, "This for me." Isabella's eyes widened as she read the card. She read it twice, then looked up at Maya with an expression of complete shock. Maya, is this real? I think so. I mean, I was there. We talked for almost an hour. He knew so much about filmmaking, and he gave me advice about storytelling. Maya's words tumbled out in a rush. Isabella called Carlos over and showed him the card. Maya watched her parents' faces as they processed what they were reading. This says full scholarship, Carlos said quietly. For film school of your choice. No, Maya whispered. I can't believe it either. Isabella sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. Maya, do you understand what this means? Maya nodded, fresh tears starting to form in her eyes. It means I can actually do it. I can go to film school without you and Dad having to worry about the money. I can follow my dreams without putting our family in debt. Carlos put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. I'm so proud of you, Mija. This happened because of who you are as a person. You stopped to help someone when you could have just walked by. But what if he changes his mind? Maya asked, voicing her biggest fear. What if this was just something he said in the moment? Isabella stood up and pulled Maya into a tight hug. Then we'll figure out another way, just like we always have. But I have a feeling this is real. Sometimes good things happen to good people. That night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the business card on her nightstand. She thought about her grandmother's old sayings about kindness, about her teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, who had encouraged her dreams, about all the hours she had, spent working and saving and hoping. Most of all, she thought about Clint's words. Real stories come from real hearts. Maya realized that her own story was just beginning, and it was starting with a simple act of kindness in a grocery store parking lot. Tomorrow, she would find the courage to make that phone call. Tonight, she would allow herself to dream bigger than she ever had before, knowing that sometimes the most extraordinary things really do happen to ordinary people who choose to be kind.